If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
Joining me right now back in the Bellator cage next Friday night, February 15th, right here in New England, stepping in to face the former Bellator bantamweight champion Eduardo Dantas, Bellator 215 at Mohegan Sun Arena. Toby Misech is here on the show. Toby, how are you, man?
What's up? How's it going? I'm doing great, man. Very excited for this fight.
Good. So we found out a couple weeks ago, Manny Vazquez out of the fight with Dantas with an injury, left a little bit of a hole in the main card. How did you get slotted in? Was this something that you saw and jumped all over, or did Bellator reach out to you and give you the opportunity?
Actually, my coach texted me if first thing I got, I was like, hey, can you make 35 by this time? And I was like, it's going to be hard, but yeah, I'll do it. And then he texted me the name, and we went from there.
and you started cutting weight right there and then when you heard it was the former Bellator champion.
Oh, yeah, but after we got the initial text, I guess it was still a process. I guess they didn't know if Manny was out or not. So that whole week I had to just train and cut weight like the fight was on. But it wasn't actually on until the week after. So, yeah.
So what was that week like for you? You get the name, you get this, you're thinking it may be yours, but you're not 100% sure. What was that week like for you?
Oh, it was a roller coaster. It was up and down, I've been training, cutting weight, thinking, I got this fight, yeah, let's go. And it's still in the back of my mind is just like, it's not 100% yet. So, yeah, it was kind of rough.
Positive thinking at that point. So, let's go back to last year real quick because it's the first time I've had the chance to talk to you. You get on the Contender Series, you fight a really tough guy, Ricky Palacios, and it doesn't go your way. And then fast forward 5 months later, and you're fighting for Bellator. You're fighting in Hawaii, in your home state. You land that knee, and you finish the fight in front of your home fans. So back in July after the Contender Series fight, if someone had told you, hey, man, it's okay, you're going to fight for Bellator in Hawaii 5 months later, what would you have said to that person?
I would have said, great. Like that was not me that showed up that fight. That's why I was so disappointed. I don't know what it was. It could have been that 2-year layoff. I really did not show up that fight, and I was really disappointed. So I couldn't wait to get back in any cage to show what I really got. But yeah, it's amazing. It happened on Bellator in Hawaii.
What did that moment mean to you? Not just because it was in Hawaii, but because you're coming off that loss, you weren't really yourself, you were itching to get back in there. So what was going on in your mind as the ref is pulling you off at Bellator 212?
Oh, it meant everything to me. After that Contender fight, I moved back home. I got back with my roots, my old team, my midman, my brothers. So I had a lot to prove that fight, and when I got that finish, it was very emotional for me.
So now you get Eduardo Dantas, big opportunity here, very established name, former world champion. You talk about getting the call a week before. It's kind of a roller coaster ride, waiting to see whether or not you're getting the fight. You're still trying to cut to 135 in a very short amount of time. So how are you feeling as we're about 10 days away from this fight right now?
Right now I'm feeling great. Actually way better than I thought I would. Usually I'm grouchy, I'm mad, I'm hungry, I'm craving all kind of food, but it's been awesome right now. I'm working with Lockhart Nutrition. They've been helping me a lot. So I feel amazing, and I can't wait to make this weight and get in that cage.
I know there wasn't, and we talked about it, there wasn't a ton of time to prepare for this fight, and it's always interesting to see what fighters prefer when put in these situations. Like some like the long training camps. They like specific fighters, specific goal, specific date. Others like the short camp because it takes a bit of pressure off, gets out of your mindset a little bit. You're not overthinking anything. So do you prefer the short camp or do you like having a long training camp before a fight?
It's hard to say because I usually have a long camp. I barely get short notice fights. But as of right now, I'm enjoying the short notice fights, being that I was in shape when I got the call. I wasn't, out of shape. I went right back in the gym, and I get less time to get injured. I get less time to think about the fight, and I get to fight way faster and don't have to think about that length. But as of right now, I'm liking it. I'm enjoying a short notice fight.
So maybe if all goes well on Friday, you get out of there quick. If they need you Saturday, you could just bounce right back in there.
Oh,
That's
for
even less
yeah.
pressure.
I'm game with that. If I can end this fight fast and they need a fighter the next day, I'll be down for that.
That's amazing. That'd be unheard of. I love it.
Yeah.
So as far as Dantas goes, he's lost back-to-back fights, lost the belt to Darian Caldwell, then gets knocked out by Michael McDonald in under a minute back in July. And, Dantas has that name, he's got that pedigree, but he is coming off back-to-back losses. So when you hear the name, you hear what he's been doing in his last couple of fights, is now as good a time of any to face this man?
It can be and it cannot be. I know if I came off 2 losses like that, I'll be hungry for a win. And so I know he's going to be coming in hungry and ready to put on a show. But then again, I know I get the momentum being I'm coming off wins and all that. But yeah, you can look at it both sides. But I think he's hungry. He's going to come. He might be his best himself yet. So, yeah.
So what has your preparation been like? Obviously, getting down to 35, kind of polishing up the skill set a little bit. Are you a guy who watches film? I mean, you're familiar with who Eduardo Dantas is, but as far as like breaking down his fights, breaking them down stylistically, have you even had time to do that, or are you just really focused on what you're going to do and what you bring to the cage? I'm sure you thought about this a little bit, and yeah, you're obviously focused on this big opportunity. That's the big priority for your fight life right now. But, main card, big weekend for Bellator Mohegan. If you get this done and do it impressively, what does this do for you? Like, where does this take you from there?
I hope it takes me to a top contender and a title shot after that. I would love to have a title shot in a big organization like that, or make a run for it.
One thing I think is interesting about MMA, despite what some fans will say, and fans can be great at MMA, they can suck at the same time. Losses can suck, but a loss doesn't define fighters, because you can always bounce back and you can always change the mentality of a fan with one performance. And, at the same token, it is important to get traction. It's important to go on a little bit of a run. And it's been a few years since you've experienced a winning streak. And I hate to be that guy to bring it up, but is that something you think about? Like, get that second consecutive win, off to the races, you know what I mean? Or does that not even cross your mind at all?
Yeah, I think about it. I back in the amateur days, I used to go on long runs. Then I would lose, and then I'll get that motivation back for longer runs. But yeah, I like to go on I want to go on a streak and finally make a run for it.
Have you visualized how your hand gets raised next Friday night? Is there like a scene in your mind when you think about this fight that kind of pops up over and over any other?
The only way I can keep seeing it is by a knockout, by landing a punch and not finishing him on the feet. That's what I imagine.
Well, big fight next Friday night in the bantamweight division on the Paramount Network. Bellator 215, Toby Misech taking on the former Bellator bantamweight champion Eduardo Dantas. Toby, thank you for jumping on me. Before we get out of here, please take the floor. Shout outs, sponsors, where to follow you on the web, anything else you want to get off your chest, please take the floor.
Okay, yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Toby2Quick, Facebook, Toby Misech, Twitter, Toby Misech. I'm mostly on Instagram, so yeah. I got a shout out to Rich Chow, for giving me this opportunity, letting me perform under the big lights. My coaches, Rasta Boss, Chad Howe, my team, Boss MMA, all my training partners, Hawaii, Hilo, for all the love and support they're giving me throughout all these years. My manager, Jason House, my management team, Iridium Sports Agency, the dark side is coming. Yeah, my brothers, my family, my friends, my 2 daughters, doing this off for them so they can have a nice meal. Yeah, all my sponsors.
Thanks, Toby. All the best to you next Friday night. The weather's been very nice here in New England the last couple of days, but you may not be aware of this, but it could be 60 degrees one day and be 6 below zero with a foot of snow the next. So prepare accordingly when you pack your bags and you make your way over here. Thanks again, man.
Right on. Thank you so much.